This is the Pesky Report.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Pesky Report. My name is Brad Chandler, and I am here today with two of my co-hosts. I have Jeff and Ryan. How are we doing this evening, guys?
Wonderful. Didn't get blown away by the wind today. Things are looking good.
80 degrees down here in Houston, living the dream.
Yeah, so we're just going to put Jeff on mute for the rest of the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty windy up here. I'm up in Connecticut. Ryan's up in Maine. Jeff's down in Texas. So we're all dealing with different types of weather and whatnot. Spring's right around the corner, so we're going to get some decent weather. What's even better is the fact that opening day is in 3 days. I don't know about you guys. I know, Ryan, you're going to a game. You already have tickets to a game.
Yeah, I was wrong last week on the podcast, so thanks for not firing me. But I'm going on April 24th, not the 14th. The 14th, I'd be going to Minnesota. So
I actually went and looked up for some tickets, and I was SOL. And then I found somebody who's selling tickets for opening day. But they're like charging double per ticket. So the tickets are $150 and they're just like, yeah, I'll sell them to you for $300 a piece. And I'm like, yeah, I'm all set, dude. I'll sit home and watch the game. So let's get into the episode. Last week, we actually were supposed to talk about this. So there was a sign put outside of Fenway Park by the Dodgers. Actually, it wasn't by the Dodgers. It was fans of the Dodgers, and basically the Dodgers version of Red Sox Nation. I believe they're pronounced Pantone 294. They put a sign outside that says, "Dear Boston, thank you for Mookie Betts. Sincerely, Dodger fans and Pantone 294." What do you guys think about this, Jeff? Let's start off with you.
I don't have any problem. I think that it may be rubbing salt in an open wound for some Boston fans. I think we can thank Mookie Betts for everything he did while he was wearing a Red Sox uniform. I have nothing but respect for Mookie. He's a generational player. I miss him. I want him to do well. And aside from how we or some of us may feel moving forward, he had decisions that he needed to make that he felt were in his best interest. I think that we ended up with some excellent acquisitions in that trade. I think it'll pay off in dividends for us. And I think soon that sign will be old news. We'll move on. We'll have a great season ahead of us. And I hope the Dodgers really do well. They have a fine team. And I wish Mookie, great success in the next 13 years of his contract. And let's just be, open-minded about where we're all going as fans who love the game of baseball.
I can see your point. Definitely with the fact that let's move on. Putting salt in the wounds. This isn't really necessary from the Dodgers fans or a Pantone or whatever they are. Ryan, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I kind of laughed and if it bothered any of the Red Sox players, you never know. They could use this as motivation and to go into the year and be like, you know what, you're gonna thank us for Mookie and watch what we do without him. So I don't have a problem with it.
Spoken like a baseball coach, Ryan.
That's right, exactly right. I like those little tidbit things of motivation and different things you can do to different teams. That's just the way I am.
I know that in 2013, the Boston Red Sox had the motivation of the Boston bombing, and not to put this in the same kind of context and whatnot, but it's like this could be used as like, all right, you just pressed the wrong button there, guys, and we're going to use that like you said, as motivation towards having a better season. And we'll see how they fare. And it looks like they're going to be a lot better, obviously, than last year. And we'll talk more about that as well. Earlier, what was it? I believe it was Saturday. It was announced that Matt Barnes tested positive for COVID-19. So he'd taken the test on Thursday. The test came back positive Friday, and they announced Saturday that he had tested positive. He had to quarantine. There were 8 other people within the organization that also needed to quarantine. And this ends up putting a little damper on the team because on Saturday you've got 5 days left until opening day, and he's going to be definitely out for 7 days because he tested positive. Automatically, this gives Adam Ottavino the role as the closer, in my opinion. And now it came out today that it could have been a false positive, and Matt Barnes is rejoining the team. What are you guys' thoughts on this? And do you think that this is going to affect his role because he had a false positive, and is Ottavino going to end up being the closer now because Barnes was out for a couple days?
I don't think so. I think that the role of closer is open. I think both Ottavino and Barnes have indicated they want the roles. Ottavino has a history when he was with Colorado of 40-plus saves, I think, in 2017. He's a proven closer. I think the competition between these two guys is good. We can talk about the efficacy of Matt Barnes as a closer all day long and what we like about him and what we don't like about him. But at the same time, I think Cora has an opportunity not to consider a closer by committee. Of course, I don't think that's under consideration at all. But I think he's got options. I think if he wants to use Barnes in the 9th, he can. Ottavino would be a great setup man in the 8th inning. And I think there are also the opportunities of using Darwinson Hernandez as a closer and also Garrett Whitlock as a closer. So I think that anything, you can make projections right now and say that this is your closer, but these guys are not designated closers. Matt Barnes wasn't a closer until he became a closer. So I think that Core is creative enough. I think he can play appropriate matchups, and he can look at how these guys do. And I think the fierce competition between those two men is certainly healthy, and we'll see how it plays out.
So I just got a question. Did you say that he had, how many saves did he have while he was in Colorado?
I believe he had I think in 2017 was his big year with Colorado for saves. I think he had around 40 saves, if I'm not mistaken.
So I'm looking at his Baseball Reference right now, and he's only had in his career 19 saves. You might have somebody else.
I think you're right. I stand corrected.
I don't mean to call you out or anything, but I had to look that up because I remember hearing something around of the fact that neither Barnes or Ottavino had proven themselves as closers yet. I believe both of them have had probably around the same amount of chances. I believe Barnes had 13 saves and 12 blown saves, which isn't a good record.
Nope.
So, I mean, I'm with you with Darwinson Hernandez. It seems like they're stretching him out, and you don't typically stretch out somebody who you're going to have as a guy that's coming in for an inning. I do like the Garrett Whitlock situation. I was reading something about that. He could end up being in that same type of role as Koji Uehara was back in 2013. And I don't mean to keep bringing up the 2013 team, but damn, if this team does not remind you of the 2013 team, because back then you had guys on the team you didn't know. And this team, you got guys on here, brand new guys. So, Ryan, what's your opinion on the Adam Ottavino, Matt Barnes, Darwin Hernandez situation?
Yeah, I agree with Jeff. I think it's open, and I think Cora will be creative, and Cora didn't make that decision a year ago with Ron Renicky. I think a decision would have been made by now, especially given the whole COVID thing, and yeah. But I think with Cora, it's different. Personally, I honestly think you're going to see Barnes more often than not in that role. I know I agree with the others that don't pay too close attention to preseason spring training stats, but Barnes has been unscored on in his 5 appearances with 8 strikeouts. So I think he's, his confidence wise, I think he's there. And now that he has the negative test and able to go, I just think you're gonna see him in that role more than anybody.
I see Cora going with Barnes a little more because of the fact that Barnes is the veteran and the in the bullpen, and obviously he's been with Cora pretty much the longest. I mean, you've got Brazier as well, but we know we're not going to see Brazier as a closer. I don't know if Brazier's actually going to be ready for opening day.
I don't think he is.
We'll figure that out when the time comes. I'm with you guys. I believe that if the closer role was going to be locked down by either Ottavino or Barnes, Cora would have said something by now. We have one spring training game left, and there hasn't been any indication that he's going with Ottavino or Barnes. We'll just have to wait and see. We'll see who emerges, if it's going to be both guys that are pitching in the 9th inning, or one guy's going to end up setting up.
Well, I think we're a whole lot better off this year than we were last year, where we were thinking about Josh Osrich and Matt Hall and Austin Bryce, and sort of a team of ragtag soldiers.
Zach Godley, Mike Kickham.
Oh, please. Yes. Forgot about Zach Godley, but he was dreadful.
Yeah, I couldn't stand Zach Godley. He threw 900 pitches in the first inning if he could.
Chris Mazza, you name it up. They were there.
I believe, didn't we trade Mazza to Tampa?
I think he got maybe. We got so many players from Tampa this year that he could fit it into that equation. I think you're right.
See, the pitcher in me though, if I'm going to be the closer, I want to know. I don't know what Cora will do for by an announcement, but if I'm going to be the closer, I want to know before the top or the bottom of the 9th inning to go get loose. And that's my rule. That's just the pitching mentality in me, because I've been pitching my whole life. But I know some people are different, but I think I'd want to know.
No, I definitely I agree with you there. The last closer we actually had was Craig Kimbrell, and we haven't had one since he's left. So, I mean, is that really something that they're going to do? I mean, Cora's unconventional, and Bloom's he's definitely unconventional, and they like to do things completely different, thinking outside of the box. So,
I was just going to say, I think though, for the role of closer, unless you have a Craig Kimbrell who is a proven closer, I think that these guys are both on the cusp, and I think it's about earning the role, and that certainly engenders the fierceness of competitiveness that would bode both of these guys well. And it's fair game. Either or have the potential to assume that role based upon merit.
We'll see. Like I said, we'll get into it and we'll figure it out. I bet you by the end of the first month, we'll end up hearing one of those. We'll hear that one of those guys are going to end up being the closer. Another thing that ended up happening from the last time that we recorded. Eduardo Rodriguez' last outing ended with him coming out in the second inning. After not throwing his regularly scheduled bullpen, which was on Wednesday, he tossed the ball around on Thursday. The velocity that he was throwing in his last outing was down a bit. And it was mentioned by Rob Bradford at that time that it could be that he possibly had dead arm. Dead arm is just a fancy word for fatigue. And after he was taken out, he ended up going into the bullpen. He threw a little bit more. I don't know if you guys saw that. This didn't concern me so much until it was mentioned that he was scratched from the opening day start. Not only did that end up concerning me, but I just felt terrible for A-Rod.
Absolutely.
He deserved the nod. He deserved to get that to get the opening day start, and especially after what happened with him last year, he was going to get that opening day start.
Well, I'm wondering if it wasn't for last year's issues that he had, is the plug pulled on him starting an opening day different than if he was healthy last year? Does that play a factor in it, do you think?
I think that it does play a little bit of factor, and I think that the reason why he has dead arm has to do with the fact that he basically had to sit down all year last year. He couldn't even walk.
Yeah, well, the COVID and the heart issue. Yeah, you're right. So yeah, I think it does play a factor.
I've chuckled when people have talked about his acquisition and that he's never panned out, and I think to myself, well, he won 19 games 2 years ago and nearly won 20.
He would have won 20 if it wasn't for Barnes blowing it in Philly.
Right. Well, thank you for saying that, because I didn't bring it up. But
I was actually at that game that he blew.
Oh God!
In Philly, I was so pissed.
I was pissed, and I was so sad for Erod because that was just such a stellar year for him.
100%. And it was the first time that he had thrown over 200. I was at his second to last start and his last start. His second to last start was the last game that they played on the road. That was in Philly. And then I saw him pitch against the Baltimore Orioles. I believe that was a Sunday night game. Or Sunday afternoon, sorry. And that was actually what's that guy's name? That kid on the Orioles. He made an incredible catch out in right field. I forgot his name.
Yeah, I can see him, but I can't think of his name either.
He robbed Jackie Bradley Jr.
Yeah.
Is it no? What it isn't Nick? Not Nick Markakis, but Nick. The other Nick. You guys know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, I can. Like I said, I can see him right now, but I can't think of what his name is.
But I think Erod will have a. I think he will have a very solid year this year. I think it's much ado about nothing. He needs rest. He's a human being. He's an athlete, but at the same time, the results of his bullpen are promising, and we should all be excited about what he's going to do this year.
Was it Trey Mancini?
No, it wasn't Trey Mancini. It was hold on. I'm trying to figure it out here. September, I think it was the 29th, 2019. It was the craziest catch I've ever seen live.
Well, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and the hosts were talking about naming Baltimore Orioles, and neither of them, who are pretty knowledgeable, could name more than like two.
Stevie Wilkerson.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yep, it was Stevie Wilkerson. He made this crazy catch. He robbed Jackie Bradley Jr. Of a home run out in right field. My girlfriend and I, we were sitting on the first base line, like just a little past first base. And I'm looking over to my right, and I'm watching this guy who doesn't play right field. I think this was like one of his first times playing right field. And he jumped up, reached over the wall, grabbed it, and then like turned around and like just joyfully threw the ball back in. It was a great catch, probably one of the greatest catches that you would ever see. And it happened against JBJ. So Now, what are your thoughts on Eovaldi getting his second opening day start in a row? I'll talk about it after you guys. So, Ryan, go ahead.
I wonder if it's like if he's going to use this as, okay, here's my chance to kind of send a message to give these fans or whoever, coaching staff, whoever's watching me, a chance to show what I got and that I'm serious and that I'm going to have a hell of a year.
He's going to end up on the IL at some point.
That was my next point. I was going to say, but history repeats itself, and something will happen as crazy as a blister that will put him on the IL, or something with his arm or back, or there will be something. I agree. One of the good things so far is that I've seen is his lack of walks. They're down, which is a good thing. But yeah, I think he's going to come out full guns blazing, get us all excited, and then something stupid's going to happen where he's going to be out for a little while.
I think Eovaldi. I was excited when we acquired Eovaldi from the Rays. His first start was great, and then from there he was spotty. Everybody knows his heroics in the World Series, and then
his heroics to where we ended up losing.
Well, his heroics to the extent that he pitched, for all those innings.
He pitched all those innings, and Drew Pomeranz didn't have to come in.
There you go. Right. That's another story. Yeah, that he was odd man out, Drew Pomeranz. I like Eovaldi. I mean, I think he works hard. He throws heat. He's had a checkered career, and he's had a lot of injuries. So I don't want him to fail. He's on our team. He's one of our starters. We need him. Let's hope that the coaching staff monitors him and, limits the number of innings and watches him closely. Let's hope he isn't made of Teflon and that he gets injured again this year. Let's just hope that systems are in place to protect the player, especially for the amount of money that he's earning, and that he has a season of 13, 14 wins. I'd be happy with that.
I'd be happy with that as well. I just feel as though that it's inevitable that he's going to end up on the IL at least one or two times. What I think, and I know that a lot of people out there think the same thing, is with him throwing the gas that he does, would it be better off throwing him as the closer? I know they tried putting him as a reliever. I believe it was in 2019 when he ended up on the IL, and that was because they didn't have the time they needed him in the games. Basically, they made him the reliever. They got him he got caught up to where he was able to get stretched out a little bit. He could start games, and then they throw him in as a starter. That was the year they had Andrew, was it Cashner?
Yeah.
That was the year they had Cashner. Dombrowski thought that Cashner was going to be the saving grace for the 2019 Red Sox, which I don't know what the hell he was thinking then. But I like Eovaldi. I appreciate everything that he did in 2018. The fact that he threw, I believe it was like 6 innings in that I believe it was 18 innings. That game was like 4 or 5 hours long, 6 hours, something like that. It was crazy. I do believe that was the main reason why he got the extension, or not the extension, but they gave him another contract. And I just wonder if he would be better suited as our closer, just because he's throwing triple digits.
Let me ask you guys a question. Sure, that's an option. So let's say Chris Sale comes back in June, slots into the rotation, and let's say he's pitching well. So you can afford to move Eovaldi to the back end or to the closer role. You've got Barnes and Ottavino. You can option somebody out that you have in the bullpen. How do you see, or how do you envision the alignment with Barnes and Ottavino if you feel it's in the best interest of the team to make Eovaldi the closer?
Well, the problem about putting Eovaldi as the closer is it's never going to happen. You're not going to pay your closer $17 million.
True.
Okay. So
I mean, if we're just thinking hypothetically here, they would end up being setup guys. I believe they bring up someone like a Houck, and they slot him in as a number 5 or something like that. And hypothetically, you would just have Barnes and Ottavino as the setup guys because you're gonna end up having Eovaldi pitching as your closer. But I mean, like I said, we're talking hypothetically here, because putting Eovaldi as the closer would be ideal in my opinion.
Didn't we have that situation a few years ago with Derek Lowe, who was a starter, who became a closer, and then he became a starter again?
I don't remember too much about Derek Lowe's contract.
Wasn't that way back like 1999 or early 2000s when that happened?
Well, Lowe was part of the 2014.
Yeah, because he won 3 games in the playoffs. Derek Lowe did.
Right. That was 04.
Yeah.
I don't remember being a starter, then a closer, then a starter that year. Maybe I could be wrong.
I do know that he ended up being a starter, and he became a reliever. I don't remember if he was the closer. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
But yeah, he was making roughly about $14 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, hold on. No, I'm sorry. That I was reading the wrong line here. Let's see real quick. 2008, 2000, 2003, 4. Nah, he was making about $3 million.
Which was a lot of money back then.
Yeah, but that's not $17 million.
Right? No,
there's a big difference between 17 and 3.
Yeah.
I mean, in his career, the most he's made was $15 million a year, and that was when he played for the Braves.
Right. It's all relative though. Like Carl Yastrzemski got a crazy contract of $175,000 the year after he won the Triple Crown.
Yeah, but we're talking years ago, like when bread was like 5 cents.
That's right.
So right. I mean, let's.
Back in 2000, Lowell had 42 saves, and in 04, aside from that, the playoffs, he didn't, according to Baseball Reference, he didn't have any saves at all in 04.
Yeah,
right.
So I mean, he did start as he was a closer. I do remember that. What I thought was kind of weird is I didn't realize that he was a Boris guy.
Low?
Yeah.
Oh.
There's a lot of people out there that are Boris guys.
Yeah.
When I found out that Xander was a Boris guy and he took the contract that he did, I was a little shocked. So going on to the next subject here, because we could probably sit here and talk contracts all day. We've got Bobby Dingers, Bobby Dalbec, who literally has been mashing balls the entire spring during spring training. Today, Bobby, he didn't hit a home run today, but I know that Marwin Gonzalez and JD finally hit his first home run of spring training. I know I take that with a grain of salt when you got those big guys that aren't hit homers, because I know that Poppy didn't hit a lot of home runs during spring training. So what are you guys expecting out of JD this year? I mean, he's been a little slow this spring training, but do we expect him to get back to the 2018 JD Martinez, or are we going to see the 2020 JD?
So here's my thought on it, and either way would not surprise me. I mean, I think his attitude was right coming into spring training this year. You know, he apologized pretty much for being a baby last year by saying he couldn't see the video and made that excuse. But then again, it's JD Martinez. If we see a repeat of last year, I'm not surprised. But if we see 2018 JD Martinez, then I'm not surprised there either. So I'm kind of I'm in the middle. I think it go either way.
I am cautiously optimistic. I am confident Cora will make a difference. I think JD has a lot to prove to himself. I think he is embarrassed over his performance last year. I think that there's a potential fail-safe situation if JD doesn't pan out where you could move Devers to DH and slide Dahl back to third. However, if historically JD, like Ortiz, has performed poorly in the spring, then let's use that as a metric. And let's revisit the situation in a month. And hopefully he's got 10 home runs by the start of May.
If he's got 10 home runs before the start of May, I'll be happy. I'll take that.
Me too.
So if for some reason it is a repeat of last year, do they make a move? Do they deal him at the deadline? Do they wait that long?
The problem with that is, what are you going to get out of him if he's doing what he did last year
with that contract?
Yeah, exactly. Now here's another thing that I was thinking about. I believe, Ryan, you brought this up on the last episode. Do we think that Barnes is going to be a trade piece?
That's a great question. I guess it all depends on what his role is, how he's doing.
If he ends up having
settles into that role, I mean, yeah, I think it could.
If he ends up having a great year, and the Red Sox are out of it, do they trade Matt Barnes?
Yes, I think plenty of teams can use him, and if Ottavino or whomever, but let's say Ottavino slots into that role, then it's duplicative. Why not get what you can from him?
Yeah, but then there's the thought that Ottavino is also a free agent at the end of this year too. So I mean, if they're both doing good, is there a chance that we could see them see one, if not both of them, on another team, and then have someone like a Garrett Whitlock slide in as the closer?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think Bloom didn't give Barnes an extension. That says something, and he could easily give Ottavino and Barnes offers in midseason if they prove themselves. But I think he's smart enough to know that he's got some contingency plans, and he's got some decent options with his prospects.
Brian?
Yeah, I agree with Jeff. I think the prospect piece is there, yeah, I can't say anything that Jeff didn't already say, so I agree.
Fair enough. I can see them trade Barnes. I don't see them trade Ottavino, especially if they're not doing good. You're not really going to get much for Ottavino, I don't think, unless he's doing real good. He's got a nasty slider. We all know that. Another thing that ended up happening this past week, Christian Vazquez. Holy crap! Did you guys see his eye?
Yeah, it looks like you're getting a fight.
Yes.
Oh my! He did get into a fight. He got into a fight with a baseball and he lost. Holy crap, man!
Yes.
I was reading the article. It said that if it wasn't for the sunglasses, it probably would have been a hell of a lot worse. The sunglasses saved him.
Yeah.
And the sunglasses saved my eye is exactly what the article said.
Mm-hmm.
They said that he is going for to get his stitches removed on Wednesday, and he should be ready to play on Thursday. Is what I'm gathering from Cora.
I say he plays. I think he does.
Oh, he's definitely going to play. Is he going to start?
I think he does.
Agreed.
That I'm looking at it right now. I mean, it could be a lot worse, I guess, but I don't know. So, let's see. What else ended up happening? Yeah, I'm not really seeing too much other information on the Red Sox outside of the last bit that I'd like to talk about.
Well, we've got Garrett Whitlock making the team.
Well, yeah, Garrett Whitlock did end up making the team. That was a Rule 5 draft. Rule. How do you say it? Is it a Rule 5 draft?
Yes.
That's what it's. Yeah. So we picked him up from the Yankees. Basically, we stole him, and this guy's just proven himself to be insanely good for some reason. And it's probably because when he was part of the Yankees organization, they just suck at trying to train their guys. They always try to buy players and whatnot. And we take him on, and he's starting to show gold. I'm very impressed by Garrett Whitlock. I believe he is going to be one of those guys that everybody's going to be like, wow, the Yankees screwed up on this one. And also, they screwed up with Ottavino. I mean, right now they have Zach Britton that's down. And because Zach Britton's out, they could have had Ottavino, but they didn't want him. They traded him to the Boston Red Sox for a salary dump.
Yeah, they're saying, those in the know, that the one thing Whitlock is missing is developing a really solid two-seam fastball that he can throw inside to lefties. And I'm sure that's something he's working on. Other than that, he's pretty close to perfect. That's the talk of the town.
Yeah, that is right. Has anything been, not trying to change the subject, has anything been happening? I mean, are we just assuming that Chavis is not going to be on the roster, or has that even been announced yet? Or
Chavis has not been announced as going down to the alternate site. The only reason why I don't think that Chavis makes the team, and it has nothing to do with the fact that he's been really good this spring. He's proved himself. It's basically he's got an option and Arroyo does not.
Yeah, I'll say this. I was not a big fan of Chavis based upon the tail end of 2019 and last year. And on the other hand, I don't like to see any player fail. And he worked his butt off this off season, and he came into camp in good shape and raring to go. And if he goes to Worcester or the alternate site, he'll be back. And
He'll definitely be back.
Yeah, and he'll be back soon. And I think his circumstances are merely predicated upon the fact that you're right. He has options and Arroyo doesn't. And Bloom likes Arroyo a lot. I don't think Bloom dislikes Chavis. So I say kudos, Chavis, for what you did this season. Your hard work, you'll be rewarded for your hard work, which is the way it should be. And then when he is here, or if he starts the season, then it's game on. It's, spring training statistics don't mean anything. And if he can replicate and dial back what they did this spring, we're golden. We're in great shape. I'd like to see these guys cut down, as who wouldn't, on the amount of their strikeouts. I think that's their works in progress.
Yeah, definitely 100%. We're going to see Dahlbeck strike out, like a ridiculous amount of times this year. He's probably going to end up breaking the record for strikeouts, but he's also going to be hitting a ton of long balls. And, if you're batting, I guess you're batting 240, you got 40 home runs. I can take that. But it also seems like he's batting for average. He was batting for average during spring training. So there was that. Now, there was news also that Hector Rondon ended up opting out of the Phillies organization. And I guess the Red Sox are actually talking to him.
I saw that today. Yeah.
So, I mean, he had his ERA was absolutely ridiculous last year. 23 games, he had a 7.65 ERA. I mean, that you got to take 2020 with a grain of salt when it comes to the ERAs, because of the fact that you can have just one bad game, and that's just going to end up ruining your earned run average basically for the year. But he's got some decent stats. He's definitely he's been staying under 4 most of his career. He's had a couple years where he was down. Not sure. Don't know much about him. I just happened to see the news about him. Now the other thing I wanted to talk about with you guys, and this will be the last thing, we'll end the show with this. Now, even though it was spring training and the games don't count, the Red Sox have been looking good, as we've mentioned. They currently lead all of Grapefruit League and runs scored. Even though the games don't count, does this team look better than you anticipated?
Absolutely. I've said it since the spring training started. I go, this team is going to be better than what people think. One of the things as far as spring training goes, they were 10-3 at JetBlue. And I think they were like 5-7 on the road. Now, does that carry over into the regular season? Are we going to see them, the records better at home than on the road? They usually are. I get that, but is that going to matter? Or, well, time will tell. But I'll say it. They're going to be better than people thought.
Yeah, you got to think about it, man. This year they're going to actually have fans in the stands,
right?
Where last year they sucked at home. So, with that being said, I mean, with fans actually being there, you know they're going to be good at Fenway. The pitching looks a lot better than I anticipated. You had Garrett Richards, who was coming in. You had Matt Idris, who was coming in. That, you know, a lot of people weren't too thrilled about those acquisitions. And now you've got Nick Pivetta. So your rotation is basically Erod, Eovaldi, Richards, Pivetta. Who else we got? They're not doing any start openers, right? They haven't mentioned anything about that.
No.
So we get Sale back in the middle of the summer, hopefully. I'm not expecting a lot from Sale this year. Usually after a pitcher gets Tommy John, they've got to figure out how to pitch again. So I'm not really expecting Sale to come out and be blowing people away with a slider right away. I think that'll be back by the end of the year. So there's that. Jeff, what are your final thoughts?
I think spring training statistics are pretty meaningless, because I think you have to measure who played, who did the players play against, who pitched, were they playing against a AAA roster, a AA roster, a Major League roster.
Well, you got a team like the Braves that they played today. They had, what's his name, Ian Anderson pitching for the Braves.
Yes.
And, JD Martinez and Marwin Gonzalez went deep on him.
Right.
And I believe there was 4 home runs in that one inning.
Right. They've certainly hit more home runs than any other team in the Grapefruit League. But I think it's also about letting the players find themselves. What are they working on? What pitches are the pitchers trying to develop and experiment with? And we also look at the season as, and Cora mentioned this at the start of the season, he said he was putting name tags on all of the players in the locker rooms because most of them didn't know each other, and he didn't either. And they'd have masks on, so he wasn't sure who they were. And we as fans were wondering, who are these people? We followed, we didn't know Kiki Hernandez if we mostly follow American League teams, for example. So Marwin Gonzalez we knew from Houston. But when they got here, we wanted to see what could they do. We had high expectations.
I'd have to disagree there. I knew who Marwin Gonzalez was. I knew who Kike Hernandez was. I didn't know who Franchi Cordero was, but I knew who most of these guys were before they came here.
Right.
Kike was part of the 2018 Dodgers, so I knew him back then.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're just the casual fan where you watch a game here and there, and and that's no disrespect to anybody who just watches a game here and watches a game there and doesn't sit there and watch the games on a daily basis. Out of 162 games, I'm probably going to watch about 140, 150 games. Casual fan will probably watch like 20 to 50 games. Of course, they're not going to know who these people are.
Right. And I was also saying, though, like people were making the comparison, like on Marwin Gonzalez. Was he the Minnesota Twins Marwin Gonzalez, or was he Houston Astros Marwin Gonzalez, or was he the Marwin Gonzalez that Cora has known for all these years? So, let's wait till he gets here and see what he does. And he's been pretty good.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree. I believe that with Alex Cora being back in the dugout, a lot of these players are getting their confidence back. I know Kike is known. I believe he was Cora's bat boy or something like that at one point. He's known him for years, and Cora being in the dugout and being the coach was one of the main reasons why Kike wanted to come to Boston. I know that Marwin Gonzalez was a part of the 2017 Houston Astros while Cora was there. I believe that Franchi Cordero is going to end up, he's going to be a lot better than people anticipate. I believe that that's another one of those guys that Cora is going to basically, put under his wings and try to get him to, do what he did with Rafael Devers, become that father figure. I'm actually extremely excited to see what Cora and Verdugo can do with each other. While Verdugo is like picking his mind and whatnot. And so, he's very animated and he wants to like learn. So I think Cora and Verdugo are going to be, I think they're going to love each other. And, JD Martinez with Cora back, hopefully that helps him along with the fact that he's got his video back. And, like I said before, we can keep saying this all year. This team is definitely going to be a lot better than most people anticipated. I'm really excited. We've got 3 days left. We've actually got less than 3 days because, it starts at 2:00, right? Yeah.
That's right.
So are you guys going to be watching the game? Yes. I took a half day so that I can watch the game.
Yes, definitely.
I actually, right now, my job allows me to kind of like make my own hours. So, of course, I will be. And I can work from home anytime I want. So, I will definitely be in front of the TV watching the game. That's for sure.
I will as well. I took a half day. I asked my boss, I was like, hey, April 1st, the Red Sox are playing opening day. I need to take some time off. He was like, oh, are you going to the game? I was like, no. He's like, well, what are you going to do? I was like, I'm going to go home, make myself some sausage and peppers, make it seem like I'm going to a real ball game. I'm going to sit in front of my TV and I'm going to watch the game. He's like, why don't you record it? I was like, Ken, that's something you cannot do when it comes to a baseball game.
But not only that, like back in the day, you could record a game and not have to worry about anything except for running into somebody who might be talking about the game. But in the world of social media now, you cannot avoid it, no matter how hard you try.
You turn on the radio, and it's like, oh, Red Sox are up 4-6 or 6-4. And it's like, well, I don't want to go home now. I don't need to go home. I could just, listen to it on the radio if I really wanted to.
You remember the movie Fever Pitch?
Oh yeah, he's like, no, yeah.
Yes, I love that scene. Yep.
Yeah, can't do that. I can't record. There's no way. Like I have MLB.TV, and there's absolutely no way I'm going back and watching a game that's already played. Like if it's opening day and I have no idea what happened, and I didn't watch any of the game or heard of any of the games or anything like that, I still can't watch it. It's just, I'll just look up the score on at bat or something. Screw it.
I was going to say, I find sometimes I ride my bike every day, like 20, 30 miles, and I'll listen to the Red Sox game on my app. But if it's not live, if the game is over, I have to go through that first screen to get the little headphone to make it play. And I have to like close my eyes because you have to go through the box score first, and you'll see it. And they lost, then I'm like, well, I don't know if I want to listen to this, but yeah,
right, yeah. I typically won't listen or watch a game if I know the score.
Yeah.
Like so,
Yeah.
But guys, thank you guys so much for joining me on this episode. I will see you guys on Wednesday.
Yes, we will.
We are going to record a preseason show with everybody that's a part of our crew, hopefully, or at least everybody that is available. And we will have a new episode out on Thursday morning, the day of the season opener.
Opening day.
Yep, we will have another episode on opening day. All right, everybody, you have a great day, and we'll talk to you on Thursday.
Have a good one.
All right, take care, guys. Bye.